Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode. The wind chill is 9 degrees here.
Oh, that's just stupid. I'm sorry.
They don't have, like, spring and fall don't happen here. It's just winter and summer.
It's 62 here. I'm looking. Feels like 60.
Whatever.
But it has rained and rained and rained and rained and rained and rained some more. I've gotten drenched on campus twice in the last week.
Again? What happened to your new umbrella?
Well, so I bought an umbrella and I took it to campus and I had not used it before. And so I came out of Central Hall, and because there's a little overhang there, like there's part of the porch there you can stand on. And I tried for like 5 minutes to get this stupid umbrella to work. 2 of my students tried to make it work. None of us got it to work. It was the way that it works is you're supposed to push the button and it pops out, and then it comes out in 2 steps. And the second step, that kept flipping the outer edge of it out, and it would not stay open. Like there was nothing there. There was no mechanism to keep the thing open. So I gave up on that on the first one. And the second time it happened was yesterday, and it had rained all morning. And then when I got to campus, it was beautiful out, beautiful. And I thought, I'm only gonna be in here for 45 minutes because I knew it was a short day. I was like, it'll be fine. So I left my umbrella in the car and walked out, and it was pouring the rain. So I deserved that one.
Yeah, it doesn't rain here. I don't know. It's weird. Like if it does too, everybody's basement floods.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Do you have a basement?
Yeah, I do. It's more of a dungeon. It's damp and has very low ceilings. And I don't know. Somebody, like I said, like there was a kid living down there before I bought this house, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That's where the laundry room is.
Yeah.
And it has these secret rooms. Like there's one room that it's just dirt. It's like a cellar. It's just dirt walls and floor. And I'm like, what is it? Somebody decided this needed to be here, but why?
Did they do canning
for?
Maybe?
There's no shelves, but that's what I thought. I was like, this could have been, or just really weird storage.
Maybe that's where they put the bodies.
There's a new version of The Burbs on TV.
Yeah, I started watching it, and then I forgot I was watching it, and I haven't seen more than 4
really?
episodes. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Well, how many episodes did you see?
Like 4.
What were your thoughts? Was it good?
I liked it. I liked the actress that was playing the main character.
Keke Palmer?
Yeah, I like her.
She's so funny.
Yeah.
She has a podcast. She was in a movie with SZA that I really think, I don't know if it flew under the radar is the right word, because maybe like majority culture didn't watch it, but black people loved it or whatever, because it was more about like Black experience in a certain kind of neighborhood. It was called One of Them Days, and I loved it. It really reminded me of those 90s movies like Friday, kind of just a day in the life of what happens to a person with like an identity or a set of responsibilities associated to their context. But it was so funny because it was these 2 women and their chemistry was incredible. I thought like, oh, okay, SZA, like another like singer or rapper is going to be an actor now, but she was great.
Yeah.
She was so funny. Yeah.
Maybe we'll watch it.
Highly recommend it. Oh, that'd be great. Because I actually only saw it the one time, and it was when I was super high. I watched a lot of stuff while I was either in the worst part of the pain or recovering from surgery. That was really, I think, good, but I barely remember it. I just sort of remember the sensation of liking it, but I also probably liked the pills I was on.
Right.
Like, was this the movie or
the ambiance?
The company. Kinky Boots, welcome to a kinky episode of Queer. It's not that.
The one thing I can say is it was absolutely not what I expected whatsoever, in a very good way.
What impression did it give you on the surface before you
with the name alone? I thought there was going to be, and I knew there was a musical with it. I thought there was going to be a lot more camp. I thought it was going to be a lot more drag queen centered. I thought it was going to be a lot more high key than it was. But instead, it was just a real story, And I read something about it. It's based on a true story, which is really rad,
isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I remembered liking it, but this, like watching it now, and it came out 20 years ago, and this was during the time of like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and this is the same year Brokeback Mountain came out. We were sort of dipping a toe into mainstream queer movies again for the first time since before the height of the AIDS epidemic. This time when I watched it, I was actually really emotionally affected by it in a interesting way. Like I wasn't 20 years ago. I actually cried a couple times.
Oh, wow.
Well, because I think its major themes are stuff I didn't pick up on, and there are things that are really meaningful to me now. Like 20 years ago, I wasn't keyed into masculinity theory, like the urban rural. So the major themes in the movie were kind of flew over my head a little bit. But so I was thinking, like, is this even a queer movie? Like it's got drag in it, but the only sexuality that's mentioned is heterosexuality. Did we even need? I don't even think we needed that love story though between.
I
Charlie.
agree. I agree.
I think that was I think that was an olive branch to straight people.
You know, the trope of having a black friend that takes care of the problem or whatever that solves your problem. That's a trope many times. I think that was put in place here, but with the added twist of the gay black best friend. Because I mean, they weren't best friends, but the relationship had a similar kind of, they were doing something for each other, and there was some rapport there.
I know because I was thinking of like the magical Negro, that trope. Like the person of color who shows up, which is, I mean, I think it is an American trope, but I thought that same thing. I was like, huh. And it's not just him, it's also Lauren. There's the woman who saves him as well. Mm-hmm. So I think there's queerness in it and there's a queerness to it, but I don't know if I would characterize Kinky Boots as a queer film, really.
I get that.
I think the more salient themes are capitalist and it's masculinity, right? Like most of the learning, for instance, is about masculinity, the growth that happens in it. Like who changes the most?
One of the things I wrote down here was didn't make it overly gay, which made it more realistic, in my opinion, just the right amount. Because I think it is not that it should, like we should be making media so that it's palatable, but I think it is palatable to a wider audience. And I think that will open up, if not minds, at least pathways for thinking, like the bigots in the movie, as they made them and saw the impact of them, they really changed their minds about things. And I think that if somebody sees a film that has a gayness in it and they still like the movie, then that opens a little door that maybe they can like things that are gay, even if they aren't gay.
I think that's in the movie too.
Yeah.
Like a person has to be able to see themselves in something before they'll really consider it as, like, we're just so selfish. And it's hard for us to commit the massive amount of effort it takes to change our minds about something unless we can see what's in it for us.
Right.
And the character who changes the most, the character who represents like that story is Dawn. I loved, and I had kind of forgotten about it. I loved the way that Lola opened things up for him. So I guess to just do a quick summary of like what it's about, because it is based on a true story, which is interesting. And it's like literally a true story. I thought like, oh, okay, sure. There was some like traditional men's shoe factory in the North that started making shoes for drag queen. No, they really did. And there was a whole BBC special on it. And someone saw that special and decided to make the movie out of it. The characters are created, but it was even filmed in a factory in the North, and like a lot of the extras in that scene, they were just employees of that factory.
Oh, wow. I thought it was interesting how the topic came up last week, how it was a real situation when I talked about my dad having drag queens coming into the porno shop that my parents owned because it was the one place to get size 13 go-go boots, And I had never thought about other people having the same kind of experience or where those size 13 go-go boots came from in the first place. So it was really interesting to see that, I think.
The idea of changing your whole business model because you saw an opportunity like that, there's a sub-theme of the movie is bravery and knowing yourself and being willing to take a chance on something.
For sure.
And Yeah, it's capitalist because it's supply and demand, right? Like our company is struggling. Who needs something? Like what is a niche audience that hasn't been catered to? Let's cater to them. That is the essence of capitalism. But there's another critique in the movie of late stage capitalism specifically with the shitty shoes. Maybe we'll talk about it when we get there. But one of my favorite kinds of metaphor, there's a bunch of different kinds of metaphor. I don't know. We're getting really into the weeds here, listeners. I don't know how much y'all care about this, but my two favorite kinds of metaphor are synecdoche and metonymy. So metonymy is when a body part or a person's physical self stands for something else. An example I use is, can I have your hand in marriage?
Gotcha.
Like, you're not marrying their hand, you're hopefully marrying all of them. So that's metonymy. Synecdoche is when a physical item, an inanimate object, stands for something larger, maybe even a person. So the crown when referring to the monarchy. So the shoes function as a synecdoche in this. And we're told that, but I don't know if the movie fully believes what it says, where his father says, you can tell a lot about a person from their shoes. We find out later that his father didn't really believe in a lot of things that we thought he believed in.
Right.
At least one big thing. So I don't know if he really believed that. I don't know if Charlie believes it.
Oh, I don't know. I thought there was a line he said, be brave, decide one way or another, do me a favor and show up tomorrow looking like your passport, right? And he's talking to Simon, we'll call him, because that's who he's trying to speak to, the male person there. And I think he was in it for the money, which, I mean, any reason that you go into diversity is a good one, I guess. But he was definitely in it just for the money and for the job saving. I think that he was still, as the culture makes one, sometimes a bigot, you know? I don't think that he was able to see the humanity. I think he started to see the humanity in the main character, whose name I can't think of right at the moment.
Lola?
Yes, Lola. He sees the humanity in Lola at the end. I think when she shows up for the fashion show in Milan, I think that's when he finally gets it, you know?
Yeah, there were a lot of moments where I didn't like Charlie.
Yeah.
And I think that that's okay. I think that we're supposed to see a lot of flaws in him. And that was the biggest one. And he told us later, he tells us why he said those things to her. And because Lauren was confronting him and he said, I just felt like a failure of a man. And so he attacked Lola, he attacked Simon, he attacked both, right? And that's another thing, like the movie isn't really, it's not using what our current understandings of gender and performance and identity and things. It's working with an older set of, I don't even know if definitions is a good way to put it, an older, looser framework for talking about performance versus identity. They were very kind of intertwined. But yeah, he just chose that moment to punish her. For the most of the movie, they do use she, her when referring to Lola. But at the beginning, though, like Charlie and his father, they're not the same people. Like Charlie doesn't share his dad's passion for shoes. And we see him throughout the movie, he wears these truly horrible shoes. Like they're just like scuffed up Walmart looking white tennis shoes. Really, really ugly shoes. So if we're to believe that you can learn a lot about a person from their shoes,
Charlie's worn out.
He's worn out and he doesn't have an identity yet. Like he doesn't know who he is yet. They're not branded. They don't have any style or fashion of any kind. They're not even particularly good at being what they are designed for, right? Because they look like a pair of knockoff basketball shoes. He's not a basketball player.
Right.
And you probably couldn't play basketball in them. Like they are truly just not there. We see the movie through shoes a lot of times. One question I had was, so like his father dies, Charlie's father dies, and he has to take over the factory. And then very soon after that, he learns that the factory is struggling financially. So he goes to London to try to sell the factory to somebody, or to sell the shoes. He had a big backlog of shoes. And the guy was like, I don't want to buy your nice shoes. I want to buy these shitty shoes so that people have to come back and buy more of them very quickly. That's an explicit reference to Terry Pratchett's theory. He had this theory, Sam Vimes' theory of socioeconomic unfairness, I think.
This is the one where you buy the $10 ones every year and the $51 ones last for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's in the context of this was in the Discworld series. I forget which book it was. Basically, he was illustrating that it's expensive to be poor, that it is more expensive to be poor than it is to be rich, because a poor person can afford a $10 pair of shoes that wears out every year, whereas a rich person can afford a $50 pair of shoes that lasts for many years. And over time, poverty tax basically adds up to being more money. So that that scene right there, like, it seemed so explicit to me that that's what they were referencing. And so we did bring money into this pretty, like, at the beginning, because it's a factory, it's a business. But I think they wanted to put a separation in there between craftsmanship and mass production, specifically in a capitalist context. Like, they need to make money, but they want to produce a good product at the same time, which is not how late stage capitalism works. Like, I'm thinking of quite a few products, like Carhartt, for instance, the brands that make, like, clothing for people who work in trades. They used to be pretty crazy expensive, but you only bought the thing once,
Sounds like my bra.
Bras are a big one.
So I've been wearing the same kind of bra because I have a particular size chest, right? So I buy my bras at Lane Bryant because they're always nice and, well made and whatever. They're expensive. And I've been wearing the same bra from them. I would say 20 years I've been wearing the same bra from them. And they had a sale the other day. They were $20 a piece. So I ordered two and Shanna ordered one, and we got them here. And they are half the quality of what I'm used to. They're thinner, they're lighter, the material isn't as good. They're smaller. Like, overall, all of it, I was not impressed whatsoever.
Yeah.
Same way with their underwear.
Yeah, I would say it. Yeah, I'm sure it is affected. I mean, and it's not just clothing either. Like, cars are similar. Like, it's better business to sell a shitty product. That is the hideous truth of capitalism.
Yeah.
Of late stage capitalism in its, like, most insidious form that we currently find ourselves. And so they're out of step with that. This Price shoe company is not in step with this new economy, this latest iteration of capitalism. The fact that this is from 20 years ago that tracks, like, that is about when I remember noticing everything was getting so much shittier.
I feel like a lot of food is doing that too. Food isn't the same as it used to be.
What do they call shrinkflation?
Yeah. It's the,
you heard of that?
When I wrote about it in college, they called it the disappearing cereal box. It says the incredible shrinking box. You'll have a 12-ounce box, and then the next time around, it's a 10-ounce box, and then it's an 8-ounce box, all for the same price.
Yeah. And I think that is that critique stays in this movie. Like, this, I was surprised that there was as much discussion about the industry itself and economics in the movie. Again, there's as much that as there is queerness. So when the movie opens on Lola's face, little baby Simon, maybe 10 years old is what he looks like he is. And he's sitting on a pier or dock or something. I don't know what he's outside of. At first I thought it was a beauty store, but he's sitting there and he's bored and he's cold. So it's like that universal kid experience of being left in the car while the grown-ups go do something. And he pulls out a pair of, like, red stiletto heels from the bag next to him and starts playing around. Really adorable scene. But immediately my question is, whose fucking shoes were those? Why were they there? Because he was there with his dad. Whose shoes were they? Were they his? Because they fit him. I don't understand. Like, because in the next thing, like, his dad catches him and is mad at him. But who bought him the shoes? Are those his?
Well, it also could be a memory or a fantasy.
Oh my God, I didn't think about that. Like, in his mind, he's just mashing up a bunch of elements that kind of capture the essence. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I think of some of the bad things that happened when I was young, some of it gets conflated and mixed around and, that kind of thing. When you get older, it gets harder to remember things. And sometimes things you wish happened get mixed up with things that did happen. And maybe he wished he did have the freedom to do that, but his dad yelled at him too much anyway, even without the shoes.
It's like a tableau of a lot of themes coming together.
Yeah.
And I felt that way watching it too. I was like, I remember the moments of like when I was home alone, or not alone, but when, mom and dad were gone, and I could, put my chest binding on and just go out and live inside my head and be who I felt like I was. And then that, like, even if you don't get caught, that it's going to come to an end because somebody's going to come home, right?
Right.
And you have to go back. So like there was an emotional undertow for me in this very first. This was the credits are still rolling, and the scene ends in a kind of shame and panic because he's caught and he feels bad. That's all we get to know about the specifics of Lola's childhood. And it's enough for us to glean how she relates to it, how those pieces still affect her. But we're not spending a ton of time in that trauma, which I was grateful for. This was during a time when you didn't get to see a queer movie unless somebody was being absolutely punished.
Right.
Especially not a mainstream one. So I was like, yeah, she's got queer trauma / baggage, but it doesn't define her. That's not the character we're here to spend time with. In some ways, I kind of feel bad for wanting that because I'm like, yes, the things that affect a person negatively are important and valid too, but like, I don't want to see that. That's not the only thing I want to see on screen all the time. But we sort of contrast that with Charlie and his father, and it's very pastoral and bucolic where they live. They're like in the Midlands, which is it's like the Midwest suburbs of England, like very beautiful and green and stuff like that. It's a contrast with Lola's urban surroundings. So that's one of this sort of, it's not an overt theme, but like this idea of the country versus the city. And our introduction to Charlie as a kid is very different than Lola's. It's very like his father is so benevolent and knowledgeable and kind, and Charlie's childhood is so idyllic. And then he grows up and he's still not happy. Like he also doesn't fit in his surroundings. Do you think the movie's trying to equate those two things, like Charlie's experience of not fitting in with his home and Lola's?
I mean, I'm sure it would probably be an idea in the director's mind, at least. Maybe if they want them to see the same kind of humanity, right? Because a lot of times when you're not queer, especially, and you see a queer character, you have a special or a kind of a schema, I guess, of the way that you think about them. And it's not always positive. So to see both of them struggling in the same way as children, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because in straight films, we don't acknowledge the pain of queerness very often, unless, like you said, they're being obliterated, right? There's not a lot of queer joy. There's not a lot of queer love. There's not a lot of queer, good emotions whatsoever. So, yeah, I think probably long-winded way of saying yes, I agree.
Well, and because there is at least one big similarity, and it's that the pressures that they're both struggling under are patriarchal. It's masculinity that is oppressing both of these boys in different ways. So for little baby Simon, it is in his gender presentation specifically. He wants to wear women's clothing. We don't even know if he identifies as gay. We don't know anything about how he dates. We just know that he identifies as someone who is not masculine. And then for Charlie, I don't know. It's definitely a patriarchal pressure, but it's different. It feels more like a kind of overbearingness, like his father's personality and his identity as a cobbler, as somebody who makes shoes, is so oppressive that Charlie he's not given the freedom to find out or to ask who he is, what his passions are.
Right. One thing I really thought that after I was done with the movie, I was sitting there thinking about it, and beyond that, I really liked it. I thought that it really, if somebody watched this with, any kind of openness whatsoever, it would make the homophobes kind of look at themselves in the mirror like it did Don, the character, And I think that's a really good quality for a film, right? If you can make homophobes be like, wait, maybe that's not a good idea. If that's anything that does that is a great media, right?
Are we the baddies? Yeah, and this it was a heavy lift for a movie at this time too, because there wasn't many movies that tried to speak to both audiences.
Yeah. Oh, and you were saying that what were you saying? That we didn't see much of Lola's life. They do give you one little peek in there when she's at her apartment and the landlady says, "Are you a man?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." You know, she's like, "That's fine. I just want to know how to leave the toilet." You know, that was such an epic like showing that shows you exactly how you should be. It shouldn't matter, right? So I loved that little bright light in the middle of everything.
Yeah. Well, and that's another theme of the whole movie is the ways people can surprise you, and in the ways this is a trope of British queer cinema. Actually, there's a couple of other movies that are specifically about like how the rural bumpkin northerners. Northern is redneck in British or in Britain, right? If they say northerner, that's what they mean is redneck, and about how those folks can surprise you if you just give them a chance. So that's interesting. They have that trope, and I can't think of very big tropes and where like Hollywood's not making many movies where the redneck surprises you.
Right.
But then, so Charlie meets Lola because he went to London to ask the dude to buy some of his overstock because the big order had fallen through, and he sees her getting harassed. A question I had, it's an uncomfortable question because I feel like I know what the answer is. Would Charlie have helped her if he had known that she was a drag queen?
Good question.
Because he white knighted it.
Yeah. Based on the way that he reacts to her later in the film, I don't think he would have.
I wonder, you know? And I it's so interesting that the movie allows us to ask that question. It allows us to be suspicious of Charlie. It's not trying to make him into some infallible person. Because it was I'm sure there's a name for this trope, but like he saw her out of the corner of his eye. She's being harassed by these dudes, and he just, you know, runs over there and tries to protect her. And it's funny because she accidentally knocks him out and stuff. But I wonder if he would have tried to help. I don't know, maybe. But it's one of those like I think sometimes we all kind of have to ask ourselves, like, would I have done that if I had known X? But then she accidentally knocks him out with her broken heel. This is where the concept of the shoe, the problem comes up, is her heels are not strong enough to hold her up because Lola is played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is a martial artist and not a small man, very muscular. His performance as Lola is interesting too. Like I'm contrasting it in my mind with like all the straight guys in Tu Wong Fu, right? The way that they like really camp it up. Like Patrick Swayze in particular, like his way of like, he literally just glides through that movie. And then John Leguizamo is swishing, and Wesley Snipes is like
slinking,
doing full, like Banshee girl, you know, like drag queen from the hood type of thing. Like he definitely, these folks watched Paris is Burning. And the behind the scenes too of that, like they did work with real drag queens. They learned a lot about queer culture to do that movie. So, but you know, this one is very much not like, he's just kind of soft. He's not mincing. He's making jokes and he's quippy. There are times when he made me cackle out loud, but he wasn't doing jokes about dicks and balls or assholes or, you know, he was doing observational comedy.
Please God, tell me I've not inspired something burgundy.
The first time he went, there's a slight chill in the air, I keeled over laughing because it's like, what do you say in that moment where you've misunderstood and there's a hell of a fight going on and you're like, I need to make my exit?
One of my favorites was when he said about his dad. He said he wouldn't even talk to me, even when he got to lung cancer. So it's ironic, really. Fags got him in the end.
The fags got him in. And in those moments, Joel Edgerton's character, Joel Edgerton as Charlie, is the straight man in more than one way. And his performance was, I loved in that scene too, because the way he played that was like he laughed and then he realized maybe it wasn't okay to laugh. And then he checked and looked to see if they were laughing. And then he laughed again. Like I have felt that so many times. And just in like a millisecond, all that played out on his face. And that I was like, the performances are really good in this. And Nick Frost as Don, he was so good. So good. When people talk about his oeuvre, like his filmography, they never talk about Kinky Boots. I think it's some of his best work. Like, he's hilarious. Yeah, he's predominantly a comedian guy, but he's done a couple of dramatic things. And this was not an easy gig to play the character that experiences the most growth.
Right.
But the idea that he can't tell that that's a drag queen, what was it?
What is it?
When Lola first goes to the what you call it, factory to pick up the first boots that Charlie has made her.
Yeah.
And Dawn is like flirting with her.
Hey,
He's
baby.
like, hey, yeah. I was like, do you really not know? Or is this Dawn like slowly learning he's a chaser?
Well, some people don't even think about the possibility that queer people exist. So, even if she looks a little mannish, which I didn't think she did, I thought they did a great job transforming her into a feminine version. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I loved how at the end, everybody was at the bar. Everybody was at the bar. The whole factory
and
shows
wearing
up.
The boots. Did you notice, like, Mr. Biggie over there had the boots on?
No, I didn't notice that.
Not Dawn, but the guy sitting next to him, the really big guy. So when Lola does go to the bar, to the factory, she knew that it was because she knew Charlie didn't want her to. Like, she clocked him immediately. When they were still in London, she was like, yeah, this is... So there was a scene where, like, she touched him and he flinched and she was like, as if, don't flatter yourself. They really do set that stage of this is her every day. She deals with this shit every day. It's nothing new under the sun for her that, a cis straight boy is disgusted by her existence. And she puts together that he doesn't want her to come to the factory to pick up the boots because he's like, I'll bring them to you. I'll bring them to you. So of course she shows up and she's like, don't ever try to get me to do something because I'm going to do it. But, like, not everybody hates her on sight. Actually, most people are either neutral or really respect her immediately. And a lot of the women who work at the factory are immediately drawn to her. Like, they find her funny and impressive. They like that she stands up to Charlie. When she starts describing style, basically, she was like, after she says, I can't believe I inspired something burgundy, she starts screaming red at him.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're selling sex.
Tubular sex.
And he goes, but they're comfy. And she said, sex isn't comfy.
Thank goodness. I thought it was just me. There were a few times I belly laughed. There were some really good lines.
Yeah. The part, so, like, she doesn't want to stay, though, because it's painful to her, like, this experience that she has after Dawn is flirting with her and she goes down and sits in his lap and she's like, if you can't even get women to wear these, how do you expect to get blokes like me to wear them? And Dawn is like, it was even though I knew it was coming, it was still upsetting because I walk around with this fear that if people knew that I was trans, that they would be disgusted by me, or that people already are disgusted by me. And I don't think that that's only trans people that feel that way. I think that that's kind of a minoritized experience.
Oh yeah, I certainly feel that way being a less than feminine woman.
Yeah. And so after that, when she's still there, she's drawing the boot for Charlie, we hear Dawn in the background downstairs, like, retching and screaming and like, that's the background of that scene of her whole basically time there. So she doesn't want to stay because it doesn't feel good to be there. And Charlie's trying to convince her to stay. And he finally does wear her down to stay until we find out that there's, like, a fashion show for shoes in Milan. And I don't even know if this is a real thing. I'm so out of the loop on fashion stuff. Like, is this real? Hang on. Let me.
Sounds like a time for a dash to Google.
Milan Runway shoe highlights from Milan Fashion Week. Oh, it was just a few weeks ago. Okay, so yeah, it's a real thing. But I don't, like, do they always go to it? In the past, have these people been, like, just marching their brogues down the catwalk in Milan? Like, that just sounds weird to me. But for whatever reason, this year, they're going to take shoes to the shoe show. The shoe carnival.
The Paybor shoe store.
And he's like, I need your help. I can't do this. And he flatters her a little bit, but he's also telling the truth about the fact he says, in the time it took you to draw a shoe, you've impacted and said more about what this is, what this means, than I ever will. So he makes the case that he needs her to do this. So she decides to stay. And she has a room with this, I didn't catch her name, this older lady that you mentioned earlier. But the first day she goes to the factory to work, we see her and we know what she's doing. She's looking at all of her outfits. She's laid out all of her dresses and she's like trying to decide. And I knew instantly what she was trying to decide. Like, do I dress as a woman or do I dress as a man? I remember every fucking Thanksgiving having that conversation with myself. Like, which gender do I present to go be around these people? And so she shows up at the factory wearing a really awful men's sweater.
The turtleneck.
She looked... Oh, it wasn't just because Chiwetel Ejiofor is objectively attractive, right? He's a very pretty man, but it was a combination of his performance and just that sweater. Like, he looked bad as Simon, and he did it. Why did he choose men's clothes?
Well, does the film ever explicitly tell us that Lola is trans? Because she refers to herself as a drag queen very often, right? So
yeah.
Maybe the drag just is drag, maybe she was coming into work, so she thought that she should dress in a particular way that would match. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted to get real. I don't know.
I think she wanted to put people at ease.
That could be it too.
Because the performance, the way that he was performing this moment was extreme discomfort. He was really uncomfortable in that outfit or in that context. He would have preferred to be in a dress, I think.
Yeah. I only gather that. And the character's name was Mrs. Cobb, by the way. I looked it up. Because Mrs. Cobb, that situation, everything's on IMDb. That scene, I think, was really pivotal because it shows that in his real life, when he's tucked away, when he's not in view of anyone, in his most quiet moment, he is a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that at the time, we weren't having this conversations about what is trans versus... Do you remember in Tu Wong Fu, they actually said, a transvestite is this, a drag queen is this, a transsexual is this. That
and
was
you're
for
a boy
the
in a
viewer,
dress.
basically. Yeah. And she, Lola does it a little bit too. She's like, I'm not a transvestite because transvestites are ugly, essentially. I'm a drag queen because I'm fabulous. So I don't know. I don't think it's something that we can really decode with how that I don't think we can make it make sense with how we think about identity and gender performance and presentation now. I just don't know that there's hope of bringing Lola into that context. I wonder what the musical does, right? Because they're still performing this. Surely they would do something to update it.
Have you not seen the musical?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, me neither.
But ultimately, it doesn't help. If she didn't show up dressed as a man in the hopes that Dom and his buddies would be nicer to her, it does not do that.
No. In
a way, it's kind of worse because masculinity is something that Dawn cares a lot about. And she was doing femininity before, but now she's doing masculinity and she's not doing it particularly well,
That's a good point.
Because Dawn, he talks a lot about women love me because of this. And the moment where things start to change for him, he's doing things to bully her. I couldn't actually tell what they wrote on the sign. It said something about queer shoes.
I don't remember. I can see if it's on the thing though.
But that's when Lola goes over and she's like, hey, what do you think would make me more of a man? Basically, you seem to care a lot about me and my manness. And she's like, you write down something that's going to make me more of a man. I'll write down something that's going to make you more of a man. And he's like, no, because I don't think he wants to enter into a context where she has any say over what masculinity is. But then the thing that changes his mind is the girls. I love this. I wrote it down. They're like, is Don a man? And another girl says, I don't know. He dresses like one, which is just the perfect way to describe performing a gender.
I found that quote. Let me read it to you. Lauren says, Lola, you're going to have to excuse Charlie. We don't have many transvestites in Northampton. Lola says, I'm not merely a transvestite, sweetheart. I'm also a drag queen. It's a simple equation. A drag queen puts on a frock, looks like a Kylie. A transvestite puts on a frock, looks like Boris Yeltsin in lipstick. There, I said it.
Which I still don't actually know what that means. Oh, I think I know. Well, the difference, I guess, would be the performance aspect, like literal performance, like a drag queen does it for money.
Do we know anything about the actor's sexuality? I assume him in a heteronormative world to be a straight man.
I do as well. Let me look and see if he's got a spouse listed on IMDb, which doesn't tell the full story, but he doesn't. Personal life. Literally nothing about dating life.
So he might be queer.
Could be. That's a common thread among people. How old is he? Oh, he's a little bit older than you. Yeah. Like Hollywood men prior to, Gen Z or millennial and stuff like that. Like a lot of them were just be bachelors. Although some people just don't want their personal life out there.
Right.
But the thing that Dom writes down for Lola to prove her masculinity turns out to be arm wrestling.
Right. I liked his winning streak from 2000 to 2005.
This was a moment where I started to... There's a theorist that I like called Mikhail Bakhtin, who has this concept of the carnivalesque and a kind of parody he calls travesty. And I started to get some of that from this movie, this watched. Like, okay, what is a masculinity contest? Like, there's nothing more on the nose, but also kind of stupid than arm wrestling. So the pivotal moment for Dawn, and I think one for Lola, happens here, because up until this point, Lola, we haven't really seen her display any compassion or empathy for any of these Northerners, right? I wouldn't say that she like goes out of her way to look down on them, but she's certainly not treating them as people as sophisticated as her when it comes to something like style. Right? She's got a lot of disdain.
It's not classism. It's what is gay sex at like
Ivory Tower,
but with a gay twist, gay
like
presumptuism.
Ivory Tower is more like
academic. Rainbow Tower.
Yeah, but well, and what we're trying to get at here is a kind of people who think that their sense of taste and style is the best, right? They're obviously elite in that way. Elitism, maybe. Think like Miranda Priestley in Devil Wears Prada. Mm-hmm. She is a tastemaker, so she's elitist about her own views and automatically assumes them to be correct and superior to anybody else's views. And so like there's a little bit of that with Lola, even though these people are literally craftsmen, right? Like they they do something that hardly anybody else would be able to do, but they're not stylists. So this moment though is so tense. Did you know how it was going to go?
No.
With the arm wrestle?
I thought, I thought that he would beat her, right? But I didn't think she would let him win. So
yeah,
I thought just because he was such a good arm wrestler, I didn't think that, he was the champion for 5 years running, but she whoops him.
Well, we know something about Lola that he doesn't know, which is that she's incredibly strong because her father made her a boxer. She was in a hyper masculine kind of context, which is common for gender traders. I guess we could just say like anybody who later becomes trans or something like that. It's actually common for them to be hyper performing whatever gender they were assigned at birth. I've heard a lot of trans women in particular say like they were trying to convince themselves, like they're trying to like get rid of all femininity. But yeah, she was a boxer, an amateur boxer. So she's very strong. And during this arm wrestling bout, she starts to win, right? She's actually really close to taking him all the way down. This is another place where there's not a lot of moments in this movie where where cinematography and technical details are that relevant, but this is one of them. Because the performances of the two of them during this contest, the way the camera is framing each of their faces and cutting between them, we see these two character arcs play out. One where Lola is realizing that she can beat him, that she's stronger than him. And then he's realizing the same thing. And the way he sort of begins to realize that it's worth more to her to let him save face and win in the service of getting closer to him, like maybe breaking him down and getting somewhere where she can actually, like, I don't know, gain some ground with him. And then him like realizing like, she's going to beat me. She's stronger than me. What does this mean about me? Like, he has this whole crisis of masculinity and his role, his image, like, and the way his face like shows us that. And then all of a sudden she just lets him win. I was impressed that he came over and talked to her afterwards.
Yeah.
And because he specifically asked her why she did it.
I don't remember what she said.
She said, I don't remember exactly, but she said, like, I wouldn't want you to have to walk into a factory and not be respected or something like that. And because she said, I wouldn't want anybody else to know what that feels like.
Gotcha.
So like she understood, and what she was talking about was like fitting into a context and being somebody who doesn't have the benefit of the doubt. Like she, in that one little interaction, she made him understand what it's like to be an outsider. What's at risk for people who don't have the benefit of the doubt, who don't have certain social privileges. He was forced to imagine what it would be like to lose. His cultural collateral was all to do with his job as a cobbler in this factory, and as an arm wrestling champion, that's not a lot of stuff. Losing one of those things, I mean, that would be probably huge for him. So she decided not to take it away because she understands what that's like.
Have I ever told you my arm wrestling teaching story?
Oh, I think it was like a scavenger hunt or something.
Yeah, somebody ran in.
Came by and they needed to.
Yeah, they wanted to arm wrestle. So I arm wrestled him, and I think she thought I was going to let her win. Hell no. I brought honor to my classroom that day.
I don't think I would be very good at arm wrestling. It's been a long time since I've done it, though.
Yeah. No, I'm weak as everything. I'm a baby. I have an infant strength. Yeah, but we're going to start walking this summer, so that's very good.
Nice.
Maybe I'll be stronger.
Start lifting weights.
You know, I did that when I was working out with our friend Cletha. She and I worked out quite a bit for a couple of years, and she had me weightlifting, and I really enjoyed it. It's just picking up heavy shit. But
I almost splurged on a set of weights, but I was like, that's too much money. But, I can't do push-ups right now. Maybe let's take a break to hear from this week's sponsor before we finish the story, because it's about to change and get very dramatic. So, I was going to do a bit and I forgot about it. I was going to pretend that the person that Dawn's character was based on started a consulting firm for workplace sensitivity trainings. But I also knew that you wouldn't believe me. So this week's episode of Queer Next is sponsored by Load Bearing Group's new industrial sensitivity training. Professional job site runs on standard measurements and predictable materials. It's about knowing how much torque a bolt can handle and whether the steel is to spec. Lately, though, a lot of crews are introducing some substandard materials into the workforce, specifically a set of social habits they inherited from a grandfather who was convinced electricity was a fad. These old-school assumptions are a structural defect of the team. They create friction that slows down production and makes the shift feel twice as long as it needs to be. When a senior foreman starts acting like a panicked mule just because the new hire has, quote, city hair, unquote, or a different way of existing, they have officially become a maintenance liability. Load Bearing Group is a specialized firm that speaks the language of the floor. We facilitate a workshop called the Tolerance Check. This is a straightforward retooling for crews with more work to do than time to argue about who gets to lock themselves in which bathroom for their lunch break cry. We start with a component inspection. You take those first impressions, the ones making you act like a territorial dog in the bed of a pickup, and you put them in the diagnostic rack. Judging a coworker based on a 1974 spec sheet identifies a legacy part causing a system error. We show you how to pull that bias out, toss it in the scrap heap where it belongs. Our iron rule is simple. A person's worth is measured in torque, reliability, and their ability to hold the other end of the heavy lifting. If they hit the specs, they have earned their spot in the bay, period. Admitting you are wrong about a coworker is an elite maneuver. Sure, it takes some muscle to hold a grudge or bias, but it takes real strength to recalibrate your perspective. Solidarity is a personal and professional survival requirement, not an HR suggestion. So check out the tolerance check from the load-bearing group. Change your mind about someone. It's the most productive thing you can do with boots on. Have you done any of those? The workplace, like in a group, not the ones that at universities they make us just like watch videos and take quizzes.
Yeah, I've done plenty of those.
But there's another version where like a consulting firm comes in and you do like a day or a week or more of like intensive learning training things.
No, I haven't done that.
They're kind of neat, but I've facilitated a few of them. It's also like you are stuck with some of the worst people you will ever know. There's always at least one person that you'll never forget.
Oh, you're talking about speaking women's studies, huh?
Yeah. Well, after Don he starts to turn a new leaf, right? He's no longer disgusted by Lola. He sort of respects her, begins to value like her as a thought leader in this company, designing the shoes. It's coming up on time for the Milan thing. It's getting close. I forget. There's this scene where he and Lauren are on the phone and they're trying to do something that costs money and they need like $20,000. What was it for? Do you remember? Like she's on the phone with somebody and they're trying to rent something and it costs a bunch of money. It's something to do with Milan. There's no way. There's not a Google search for this. Either way, they need something. Maybe it was the performers.
Yeah, they said the travel and the all of that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And he decides to like take out another mortgage on his house to pay for this. And he did not run it by his fiance, which I was actually like, that's a valid crash out on her part. Like he made a pretty significant financial decision without consulting her.
Right.
Like their relationship, this is one of the reasons why we could have just done without it. I don't know what that was for. Like his first relationship, because it was just them realizing they didn't want to be married, basically. That was her entire role in this movie. That and being the thing that caused him to feel like he should be mean to Lola. But anyway, they have a fight. Lola's there. She does this thing where she like turns the microphone on so that Don can hear Charlie talk about how much the factory means to him.
Do you think she did that on purpose?
Lola? Yeah. I don't think she did the first time, but I think because it happened once before and it was just kind of a way that the rest of them got introduced to her, like the people who worked at the factory. But she looked at it before she did it and she knew Don was down there. So yeah. But then after, Charlie and I forget his fiance's name.
Lauren?
No, Lauren is the assistant.
Oh.
She's played by Jemima Rooper. It's funny, I know the actress's name, but not the character.
Look in here. Nicola.
Right, Nicola. They kind of break up, and Charlie's like really sad and upset or whatever, but also I don't think he was that shocked. But he and Lola are like gonna go to a restaurant or something to talk about the fashion show, and she happens to be there with a guy that I think she was cheating on him all along.
Right.
This was the real estate developer, but I think that they were also either that or they spent enough time together to become attracted to each other. And we identify her through the shoes that she wanted earlier. It was a pair of red Jimmy Choos that she bought, and we see them flirting with a man's shoes under the table at the same restaurant that that Charlie has gone to meet Lola, and he runs into this guy in the bathroom, and so he realizes she's there, and they run away before he comes out, but he sees her shoes stuck in the cobblestone. So he knew they were there, and he was really broody and mad, and when Lola gets there, that's when he decides to lash out at her. I wonder if he believed some of the things he was said to her, or was he just like repeating the biases that we all have, because we all have access to those things.
What do you mean?
Sort of like if you say you get in a fight with a sibling or a romantic partner or something like that, and you say something you didn't mean because you wanted to hurt them.
Okay.
Was he doing that? Was he just trying to hurt her, or was he saying things that he secretly thought?
It's a good question.
I don't know if I really know the answer. Like, I feel like it could be either or. That's kind of what's awful for Lola, is that she'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
She could ask herself that question and she'll never know whether he was just being hurtful or if he actually thinks those things.
But in the end, it didn't seem to matter. She showed up for him when he needed it anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about this like fashion week thing because she's gonna hang him out to dry.
In the trivia, it actually said what it was called. The shoe fair depicted actually exists. It's called the MICAM, MICAM. It's not situated in the center of Milan, obviously, but in the exhibition complex in the outskirts of the city.
What is it again? Mycium?
MICAM. MICAM.
Oh, okay.
MICAM.
Interesting. Yeah, and we see flashes of it like when we're there before they go on, and it's just people, mostly women, like cis women in regular dresses and shoes walking a catwalk. So it looks like a regular fashion show, but kind of like more boring.
Right.
And like Charlie is hiding this. He's trying to hide it, which is stupid because it's going to come out eventually that he has been mean to Lola. So she's probably not going to show up. And Lauren is so mad at him. And she again, like says to him, like, she kind of implies that he is not trying very hard. He's not trying everything he can think of, which has been that's true. That was kind of like his thing. He's a very mediocre person, Charlie, and all of these other people keep showing up to help him and to bail him out. He does have to do the occasional uncomfortable thing, though. He does rise to the occasion, which it's kind of interesting that he did this because, like, they get to the show and Lola and her friends don't show up, and he decides he's going to model the shoes. And this is kind of like what they were. This is what you write this script towards. They're like, okay, we have to get to the walk a mile in her shoes moment. How do we do that? What's the most ridiculous way? Which is the only reason the Milan fashion or shoe show thing would even be written into this, is so that because it would be a spectacle. He decides he's going to model these things in his tighty whities. Why didn't he find something else to wear?
Right. Well, what else would you wear with those boots besides the skirt?
The skirt, yeah. He couldn't do that. He couldn't give up the rest of him, right? He had a tux, or not a tux, but a suit top and a tie and his tighty whities and these thigh-high snakeskin, I think they were, stiletto boots. I was thinking as I was watching him kind of fall down the runway, is that this is kind of the nightmare of masculinity, of being humiliated in this way. Like when they talk about the fear of being laughed at, when men talk about the fear of being laughed at, it's emasculating. Being laughed at is emasculating to them. It's the worst thing they can think of. And he like finally falls ass over tea kettle, like cheeks up in the wind and everything. Like this is not a flattering position he falls into. And people start laughing. He's lying there. And it's like, that's what they're afraid of. And again, Lola shows up and bails him out with all of her other troupe.
Right.
And they modeled the rest of the shoes, I guess. They must have got ready on the way or whatever.
Right.
Because they were quick.
Movie magic.
Yeah. They do a little performance, and there's like 20, 25 of them up there. It's pretty fun. Still not like super drag like we were talking about earlier. There wasn't a lot of what felt like actual drag in this movie. Like there were people who were cross-dressing, but not, there wasn't any like death drops. And again, that's an American type of, well, it is. That's American. So I don't know what British drag is even like, really. I think it is more humor based.
I don't know. Every drag queen I've ever seen has been a comedy show. So at least in between. I used to go
to drag shows that were just bucket boots, like lip syncing, dancing to dance tracks and stuff. So that's mostly what I've seen.
Gotcha. I haven't seen a drag show. Like the last drag show I saw was on BGSU's campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mostly I've seen student drag shows in the past like 10 years.
Yeah. I realized that I haven't been, when we left Huntington, Shanna and I and my best friend went to the bar as a goodbye tour, right? We went to the Stonewall, and I realized that has been 18 years ago. So I have not stepped foot in a gay bar in 18 years. That's wild to me.
I can't remember. Probably been around that for me.
Would you like to hear this week's noun of Appalachian interest?
I was just going to ask if you brought us one.
I sure did. Okay, so when I say clogs, I don't mean the chunky shoes that you ordered at the grocery store in 2010. I mean the kind that make noise on purpose, the kind that you wear when your feet are part of the music. This week's noun of Appalachian interest is the humble clog. Made from sturdy, hard-wearing wood, clogs have been worn in many cultures for hundreds of years due to their ability to retain warmth and protect the foot from sharp objects. Although initially worn by workers for their functional nature, they began to be associated with dance and performance around the world, as those wearing them used the soles to create rhythmic sounds when their feet struck the ground. As the Appalachian region was settled in the mid-1700s by Irish, Scottish, English, and Dutch German groups, their folk dances began to mix together. Over time, this blend turned into a loose foot-tapping style that became clogging as we know it today. Often also called flat-footing, it's usually set to lively fiddle and bluegrass music and remains a form of personal expression in a place shaped by personal freedoms. There's something about clogging that feels passed down more than taught, though there are still clogging schools and classes around Appalachia today. It's like you learned it by being around it long enough, not by signing up for a class. And there's always that one person, usually older, who makes it look way too easy, like they've been doing it forever and forgot that it's supposed to be hard. And the shoes, well, that's why we're all here today. The quality matters, the look matters, and the sound matters. They're built to be heard. That's the whole point. You're not trying to be quiet, you're trying to take up space with sound. Which all makes this a weirdly perfect tie-in to Kinky Boots. Sure, it's a different look, but the same idea. Shoes aren't just about walking from one place to another. They're about being seen, being heard, and doing it in a way that feels authentically you. What makes it connect even more is that both are really about function meeting identity. Clogs were built for work and movement, but over time they became tied to performance and culture. In the same way, the boots in the film start as a practical product for a range of men, but shifted to something that represents visibility and self-expression. In both cases, the shoe ends up carrying more meaning than it was originally designed for. Also, I'm just saying, I would absolutely watch someone try to clog in a pair of those boots. I don't think it would go well, but I would absolutely watch it. And that's this week's noun, clogs. If you hear a banjo weeping softly and a floor getting beat up in the distance, just know that somebody's having a good time.
Well, at the beginning, that kid, little baby Simon, was dancing in those heels. I mean, kind of.
Do you think that was a metaphor for the way that he was made to feel by the people of the shoe company, right? He was dancing around those heels and somebody said, stop it. And that's kind of what happened to him, later in life. I think maybe that was a metaphor for the wider message of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot about like just trusting people to find their own joy or to know what brings them joy and just the weight of expectations. Well, can you think of anything else to say about Kinky Boots?
All of my notes have been exhausted. Again, I like that it ends with the whole factory at the bar, that kind of shows the evolution of everyone, even Dawn. I think that was cool.
Yeah.
Because it became more than just the business. It became the culture.
Yeah, the chosen family thing is a theme too. Like there are a lot of things there are some things explored here that are very pertinent to queer culture, but it was taken into a more like general context. I think it was kind of like explorations of class and stuff in here too. Like, I don't know, not as explicit. It just stays very personal. It stays on the individual, like the small scale. It doesn't really expand out too much. And that's kind of cool because it can still signify other things. It can still gesture to real world things and stay on the story of these people.
Yeah.
I think that that's like a mark of a successful based on a true story type of thing.
Right.
Where it actually stays with the people that the story is based on. Like a lot of, my favorite movies, it didn't get great ratings when it first came out. I don't know why. I'm curious if it was about, there's a couple of like questions that we've had, like where did the shoes come from? Or, like storylines that not sure why they were there. Maybe it was that stuff, but how much of it was to do with queerness?
Right. I think that's probably a big part of it. Because like Tu Wong Fu didn't get a lot of good coverage either. I mean, name one good, besides like Rent, name one film that has gotten good coverage because it's queer.
Do you like Rent?
Well, I mean, I've seen it twice in person, so I don't really hate it, but I wouldn't say it's among my favorites. I do like the Tango Maureen.
Like, yeah, there are things about it that I like. Like the music is good, but like the story itself, I'm just like, oh, I hate all these people. I mean, even wasn't like Brokeback Mountain. I think it was nominated for some awards, like some straight world awards, like Oscars and stuff. I think, but people still...
Oh, it's still a joke to this day.
Exactly. Let me see what awards. So the director won an award, won an Academy. Yeah, it won quite a few awards. And those people, they were still just kind of tortured for, being involved with it. And it was the straightest of straight people involved in this movie too. Like there was not a gay finger anywhere. And even the characters, those were straight boys. I'm sorry. Like that is not a gay movie. Brokeback Mountain is not a fucking queer movie.
Right.
It's a straight movie with gay sex in it.
Right.
I love it. It's a really good movie, honestly. Like I don't have any complaints with the film itself, but it's not. For instance, I've never taught it in a queer cinema course. There's nothing queer about it.
Right.
Like I would teach it in a masculinity course for sure, because it depicts a very real thing, which is the fact that straight men have sex with each other.
Right.
A lot. Like that's who they practice with, right? Like, we got girls going to sleep in slumber parties and practicing kissing each other. Straight men practice fucking on each other. They're not going to admit it to you, but they do. And they always have. And sometimes they catch feelings for one another. And it's a well-known thing, right? That's what that movie's about. So even calling it a gay movie is a kind of queer erasure. I don't know. You can tell I have big feelings about it, even though it's a great movie.
Right.
But yeah, it's back to your point. I don't know. I mean, I don't know any movies that have been what you would consider queer that have had mainstream acceptance.
Yeah. But I'm a Cheerleader might be the closest thing, but it's not even mainstream. A lot of people haven't seen it.
That's indie. And if you want to talk about like big box office releases, maybe people liked Carol.
I bought that book, The Price of Salt. I bought that book. I haven't gotten to read it yet. Maybe this summer.
Yeah, Patty Highsmith. All right, let's Google this. This will be the last random thing I Google. How do I phrase this? Highest grossing queer films. Brokeback Mountain. Come on. All right, what else? Maybe there's Philadelphia. Okay, so...
But that's not a good representation. That's somebody dying of AIDS. You know what I mean?
It's right. This is queer punishment. And it's not even like the bury your gays trope, right? Like, first of all, a gay person dies a horrible death. And I've only read down to number 3 now. And that's all. We're 3 for 3. 4 for 4. Oh my God. So Brokeback Mountain, Philadelphia, Milk, Boys Don't Cry. I don't know this 5th one. It's from 1982. Is this international? I don't know who any of these actors are.
What's it called?
Making Love.
I haven't heard of that one.
Me neither. Very random. After that is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Okay. There's another one here that I don't know. Gods and Monsters.
Never heard of that one either.
Capote, The Wedding Banquet. Transamerica. I didn't like that one.
I remember seeing it in the film.
Oh, Victor Victoria. You've never seen what?
I saw the Transamerica. What's it called? Transamerica?
Transamerica with Felicity Huffman.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. I remember not liking it either.
I didn't like it. Victor Victoria is a very good movie. The Hours, I couldn't get through it. Oh, The Birdcage. Okay,
that's one.
Nobody dies in that one.
Right.
A Single Man. Oh, and we're back to dying. Cruising. Okay, you lost me. Clearly, there is a queer cinema crisis in Hollywood. Hollywood, the gayest place on earth.
Right. Everybody got a dream in Hollywood. That was the name of my car when I graduated high school. I had a bright ass purple. It was a deep purple, but it was a very purple Hyundai Accent, and its name was Hollywood. Everybody got a dream in Hollywood.
Well, and the thing about Hollywood is that it is made by queer people and people of color and non-Americans, literally immigrants. Like that is what Hollywood is, but it's made for white America. That's kind of the whole trick of Hollywood. That's Kinky Boots. It reminded me of this other movie that is a British movie, kind of has similar themes of country people, good country people, and then like London queers, called Pride, and it's about union organizing in the miners' towns of like Wales. So random. Also based on a true story.
Very cool.
Well, I guess we could call this done. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. I have been high on medicine. just hoping for the best. I'll find out how we did when I'm editing it. Hopefully you got warm weather wherever you are. Maybe I'll get some eventually. And, be good out there. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.